So this verse, today's verse, chapter 7, verse number 19, where Krishna says, after many, many births, one who surrenders unto him, who is in knowledge, he is very rare. Such a great soul is very rare. So now, when we understand that with the help of knowledge, then gradually we get attached to the Supreme Lord, and then that gradual surrender comes in. And Prahlad Maharaj has given us the very nice description of the 9 processes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. These are the 9 processes. And the very first one is Shravanam, which is hearing, right? So that is what we learned even in this purport of Srila Prabhupada, where he says, the power to see, the power to hear, the power to think, everything comes from Krishna. Can we guarantee that for the rest of our life, whatever time we are on this planet, on this earthly planet, that we will always be able to see, we will always be able to hear? No, there is no guarantee. Anytime anything can happen, and we may lose our eyesight or hearing power or the speaking power or thinking power, whatever it may be. So here, to understand that yes, Krishna is the Lord, He is the one who gives us all the abilities, and He is the highest goal. When a person understands that and surrenders to Krishna in knowledge, that uh, person is very rare. He is a Mahatma. He is not just Atma, but he is a Mahatma. Now, in the purport, there is mention of Lord Vishnu, right? That he is all in all. Now, Krishna, he explains in the Bhagavad Gita, he is situated as a supersoul in every living entity. When we go to the, I think, verse number 20, 21, we will hear he talks about the super soul. So when we see that he is the one who's providing us with everything, then there should be an attitude of gratitude. Now, if supposing, not supposing, all parents, they do a lot for their children, they provide them with all their necessities, sometimes with a lot of luxuries, everything. And do the parents require anything in return? No, they don't expect anything in return. But if the children have an attitude of gratitude, that pleases the parents, yes or no? Yes, they don't expect it, but that attitude really helps one to be more happy and peaceful in life. So here we can show our gratitude to the Supreme Lord by surrendering unto him, which means following his instructions. So here he says that after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes, and all that is, such a great soul is very rare. Now, it's important to find out such great souls, such Mahatmas. If you remember, last week we heard a lot about from Srila Prabhupada about association, associating with saintly persons, associating with devotees. Because what happens when we associate with devotees, then that helps us in purification, and that also helps us in reaching our goal. That helps us in understanding the Bhagavad Gita. That helps us to receive the mercy of the Supreme Lord, because the Supreme Lord sees our sincerity and seriousness. And then he, just like Bhagavad Gita says, ye yatham ma prapadyante tam tatheva bhajamiham. As one surrenders unto me, I reward them accordingly, and which is very fair. So if we take one step, Krishna is going to take 10 steps towards us, and that can help us in progressing on the path of Bhakti Yoga. Let's go to verse number 20. He says, those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. You see? So here, 2 important points. One is talking about the intelligence, and the second is talking about material desires. So we have noticed that whenever the reason there is demigod worship is, as this verse clearly states by Krishna, he says that when a person has a lot of material desires, they worship demigods because they know that worshiping demigods gives them instant results. Their desires are fulfilled. But they forget to understand that these benedictions that we receive, they are temporary, they are limited, and they are there for some time, and then afterwards, then we have some more desires, and then we are in more anxiety because now we want to worship those desires. So this whole cycle keeps going on and on and on. So those who still have material desires, Krishna says, they, if they surrender to the Lord, like we learned last week, four kinds of people who surrender to Krishna, the four kinds of pious people. So one of them is one who wants money. Why do people need money? They need money to satisfy their desires. Yes or no? Yes. Why do people work so hard so that they can get a paycheck after every 2 weeks? Why that paycheck? So they can pay their bills, they can, eat what they like to eat, they can go on vacations, they can, buy stuff that they want. That is the whole motivation, you know, to earn money. So here he's saying that if there are still material desires, Krishna can free us from those material desires if we surrender to him. Now the fear is that if I surrender to Krishna, then what will happen to my material desires? Oh, I will have to give up my material desires? No, you don't have to worry about that at all. Desires, they'll keep coming, they'll one after another, they'll keep coming. But we need to understand that we need to perform that austerity of not running after all the material desires. Like, okay, I want this, let me go get it. No, there has to be some sense control. So Krishna, but still he's told us last Wednesday when we did the verse, four kinds of, he says, okay, you want, to get rid of distress, come to me. You want money, come to me. But when we go to Krishna, then gradually the purification takes place. And then we understand, oh, the right goal of life is not to satisfy the material desires, but to break the cycle of birth and death, to become one of those Mahatmas, those great rare souls who understand and surrender, and they break the cycle and go back to the spiritual world from where they actually belong. So here he's making it very clear that those who surrender into demigods are less intelligent. Now my question is, why is he calling them less intelligent? Any suggestions? If anyone have any viewpoint about why is Krishna calling them less intelligent? No one likes to be called less intelligent. Let's face it, nobody likes that at all. But here Krishna is very clearly saying less intelligent. Why?
When you can choose to surrender onto Krishna himself and get relieved of all material aspirations and pain, we should choose that higher taste rather than going for material things and seeking
Yes,
help from
we
the
have got
demigods.
this rare, we have got this rare human form of life, not to satisfy the body, the gross body. We have got this rare human form of life for self-realization, how we can break the cycle. And so only the intelligent people, they take up Krishna consciousness. They understand that, yes, I don't want to go to demigods and worship them and get my material desires satisfied, and then again be in misery after some time because now I have another desire to fulfill. So here the motivation for those who worship the demigods is material desires, and there are small desires. Why not desire big, right? If supposing I come up to you and say, I have a business proposal for you. So there are two options. One business proposal will give you say $200 a month, and then the other proposal is going to give you $100,000 a month. Which one would we take? No brainer, right? There's no brain needed for that. Obviously $100,000, big, right? Everything we want is big TV and big car, everything, big house. So why not have a big spiritual goal? Why just go for small fulfillment of small material desires. We should go for permanent solutions, which the Bhagavad Gita is giving us. Now, Vedas, they do recommend demigod worship for various purposes, like, those who want to excel in education, worship Goddess Saraswati. Those who want money, worship Lord Lakshmi, Goddess Lakshmi. Those who want a beautiful wife, worship wife of Lord Shiva, that's Parvati. So these recommendations are there, but all these benedictions, Krishna, we will learn in the next few verses, that they come from him. He is the ultimate authority. He is the one who gives the sanction. Without his permission, even the demigods cannot give us the benedictions that we require. So all benefits come from him, and he is the source of all the benedictions. So an intelligent person will go to the reservoir of pleasure, to the reservoir where everything comes. Why would we go to some very small place? And of course, as we learned, that the fruits offered by the demigod worship are limited and temporary. So Krishna is saying, you worship me, you come to me, and I will fulfill your desires. Let's go to verse number 21. He says, I am in everyone's heart as the super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. See how merciful Krishna is. He is not interfering with our minute independence at all. Why do we call it minute? Because we have very little freedom of choice. It's like, in our backyard, which is fenced, we put a child there and we say, you have freedom to do whatever you want inside the fence, right? So that freedom is very limited. What can the child do in that, fenced backyard? Depends on how big the fenced backyard is, right? He can only just do whatever he wants inside that fenced backyard, right? So that is minute independence. It's not that the door is open and says, okay, my child, go do whatever you want to do. No. So similarly, that is what we have, that situation in this material world. We are also in a fenced backyard. We have that minute independence to do whatever we want to do in that circle of our karma. Based on our karma, we get miseries and happiness both. So in that purview, then we still have freedom of choice what we want to do, right? So just like the child can use that freedom constructively or destructively, right? So the child can go there, take his Legos, his toys, or whatever it is, and play over there. Or out of anger, he may just go start breaking the fence, and he could do some destruction, whatever. That freedom of choice is there. So here Krishna does not interfere with our desires, our choices. He says, if you want to worship demigods, I will give you the faith. That means without his sanction, we cannot even worship the demigods. But he's waiting for our choice. When we make the choice, yes, I want to worship this demigod, then Krishna says, I will make your faith steady in that worship. He is not interfering. Just like I give you example of going to Kroger or Publix or Whole Foods, wherever we go to the grocery store, we have choices, right? We make the choice. What do we want to buy? There are foodstuffs which are full of chemicals and not really pure, not wholesome or organic. Then there is an organic section. So we choose what we want to do. So like supposing I'm hungry, I need dinner, I go to Kroger, and I say, oh, what should I eat today? Maybe I can have some mac and cheese, or something, that boxed mac and cheese. Or on the other side, I have an option, oh, there are so many fruits and vegetables that I can steam and eat, see. So we can figure out what is the healthy food and what is the unhealthy food. So that choice is ours. No one in Kroger is going to stand next to us and say, oh, why are you choosing this? You cannot eat this. You have to. No. Do you find anybody dictating to you what to buy, what not to buy? No. we, from our own freedom of choice, we choose what we want to eat. Similarly, we choose what do we want to do with this rare human form of life. Do we want to waste it, let it, just slip by, and we don't know what will be the next body that we are going to get once we give up this body? Or we want to say, no, I have philosophical intelligence. I have got access to Bhagavad Gita as it is. I have access to devotees. I have access to chanting, hearing, and reading. So why not take advantage of that? Because there is no loss. We've already learned, Krishna told us there is no loss or diminution on this path of Bhakti Yoga. So this is very, very important to understand. Sometimes people say, why is it that God can do anything? Why doesn't He force us to worship Him? Right? He can all force us to say, okay, you all are my children. I want you to come back to your own original home, which is the spiritual world, and I want you to chant every day. I want you to become Krishna. Can He force us? Yes, He can. But He does not do that, because that would be encroaching upon our minute freedom of independence. That minute independence that we have, He does not want to interfere in that. So that is the reason why He's giving us a choice, because if He wants, if He wants us to come back to the spiritual world, we need to get qualified, we need to develop that love for Him. Then that cannot be by force. We cannot have someone love us by force. So important point to understand here is when He says that I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity, which means we need the sanction of the Supreme Lord to even worship the demigods. The demigods worship cannot be done without his permission, and the demigods cannot give us benediction without the sanction of the Supreme Lord, because they receive it from them. So here, important to understand is that even the demigods, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, they are also parts of Krishna. They are of course on a higher status than the human beings, but they are also parts of Krishna. And they understand that they are parts of Krishna. They understand that the benedictions come from Krishna. They understand that they need the sanction of Krishna to give the benedictions to the demigod worshippers. They understand all that, just like we understand our body. Now, we have different parts of body. We have hands, eyes, nose, ears, mouth, everything, right? We understand that these are all parts of one body, right? One gross body. And we understand where to put the food, right? I hope we understand that we don't put it in our eyes or ears or nose. No, we know we have to put it in the mouth, and that then it goes down, gets digested, and all the parts of the body, they get nourished, right? We understand that, right? It's not that we say, oh, if I don't feed my eyes, they'll go weak, then I have to wear glasses, or if I don't put food in my ears, then my hearing power will be less. No. Similarly, demigods, they are parts of Krishna, and they understand what their position is and what they are supposed to do. So they depend on Krishna's sanction. Let's do verse number 22. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. See, here Krishna is making very clear that it's not the demigods, that they have a magic box, with them. And then when someone worships and has a desire, they just open the box and plop, they just give that. No, they understand that all these benefits are coming from Krishna himself. They do not forget. We may forget, but the demigods do not forget. So why not instead go to the reservoir of benedictions, the reservoir of pleasure, as it is called. So devotional service, in the Purport, Prabhupada explains that devotional service and demigod worship cannot go together. Because devotional service means only for Krishna. So devotional service, bhakti yoga and demigod worship, they cannot go together. They are not on the same platform. And important to understand that demigods are not separate gods. Unfortunately, in India, people say, oh, we have many gods. No. If you look up the meaning of God in dictionary, it is singular. It is just one personality. Someone who is neither equal to that person or above that person, that is God. So that is a singular person. So demigods, plural, no, they cannot be on the same level. It's like trying to say the prime minister and the cabinet ministers, they are all on the same level. No, they are totally not. Prime minister is right on top, and the cabinet ministers, like president, is on the top, and the other ministers, they are below him. They are working under his guidance. So they get their power from the president or the prime minister. So similarly, demigod worship and worship of Krishna, they are not on the same platform. So this is what we learn from this verse. And let us go to verse number 23. That is the last verse for today. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. You see? If I buy a ticket from Atlanta to New York, I will go only to New York, and I cannot go to DC. I cannot go to LA. I cannot go to, Jacksonville. That's not possible because that's the ticket I bought. That is what my destination I decided upon. I said, okay, but yes, if I decide to go to New York, if that is my destination, then I need to figure out what is the process of reaching that destination. So here there are two options. One is to go to the demigods. If you worship the demigods, Krishna says, definitely we will go to the planets of demigods. But my devotees, he says, they ultimately reach my supreme planet. So you see, for his planet, he's calling it supreme, right? Why? Because the scriptures clearly explain that even the planets of the demigods, they are still in the material realm. So here, this whole creation is divided into two parts. A quarter of it is the material, and the 3/4 of it is the spiritual. So this is a segregation. This is how it's divided. So the according to the Bhagavad Gita also, like Krishna says, "A Brahma Bhumana Loka Punar Avartino Arjuna." Why? Even the highest material planet, Brahmaloka, is still considered to be a material planet. So we have again the freedom of choice. What do we want to decide? Do we want a permanent solution to go to the supreme spiritual planet where there is no return? Punar avartino arjuna. There's no punar coming. There is no coming back into this material world. Or do we want to worship the demigods and go to the planet of the demigods? And here he again calls them men of small intelligence worship the demigods. Small intelligence. He's making it very, very clear, because this human form of life is very rare. It is to somehow or the other find a permanent solution to end this misery, the cycle of birth and death, and go back to the spiritual world. So here the demigod worship is for material benefit. That's why it's considered less intelligent. Whereas worshiping the Supreme Lord Krishna is spiritual. It has spiritual benefit, and it gives us a permanent solution. So what is the destination he's talking about in this verse is what, just like it is said, as you sow, so shall you reap. So if I'm going to sow some lemon seeds, I'm definitely not going to get mangoes as the fruit, because I have sowed seeds of lemon. So I'm going to get lemon. So here, similarly, he is explaining to us that we have to decide that where do we want to go. Devotees of Krishna, they go to Krishna Loka, which is the highest spiritual planet. Unfortunately, many times people say all roads lead to the same destination. Have you heard that before? All roads lead to the same. No, they do not. If I am going to go on 85 north, I am going towards New York. If I want to go to Florida, I have to take 85 south. I cannot go 85 north and expect to reach Florida. That's not possible at all. All roads do not go to that same destination, but we have a choice. Just like when we are driving on the highway, we have a choice which exit to take. No one is going to force us to take an exit. We have to, with the help of knowledge, decide which exit do we want to take, what is our destination, where are we going. Use the GPS system, and Bhagavad Gita is our GPS system, which shows us how to reach our ultimate destination. So devotional service to Krishna brings bliss because it's based on knowledge, and that leads to mercy from Krishna, and that mercy becomes unlimited, and we are able to reach our supreme goal. So I'm going to end here at verse number 23. If anyone has any questions.
Hi, Gita ji. The last statement, my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet, is that only after death, or is that in this life?
After death, yes. After we give up this body. So according to Srimad Bhagavatam, if we have purified ourselves, if we become qualified to go back to the supreme planet, then at the time of death, then we get a spiritual body, and then we go to the spiritual planet. But while being in this body, we can still be in a liberated state. We can liberate ourselves while in this body, based on our level of consciousness, our Krishna consciousness. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, if no other question, thank you. We have Amalan, Charanya, Hemant, Leela Vasini, Michael. Okay. Thank you. I'll see you next Wednesday. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Gita ji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Gita.
Thank you.